Joining me now is Paulo Sotero. He is the director of the Brazil Institute at the Wilson Center. I spoke to my daughter on Skype today. She's in Scotland. One of her friends spent a lot of time in Brazil, just crestfallen about this. Spoke to a journalist last night, crestfallen, and she wasn't the only one. She was talking about how her daughter was really upset about this, a teenage daughter. This museum meant so much to so many. Describe for me your reaction when you saw that this had happened.
Yeah, it is devastating. It is a loss of memory of a country that has not studied its history very much. And it is, we have to recognize, of a product of not only neglect, a lack of funds, but of how funds are used. There is a problem of governance in institutions like that. There was money available, there was money offered 20 years ago by the World Bank to preserve and expand this museum, but the methodology used to manage the museum is an old one. It is controlled by a state university of Rio that is in itself in trouble financially. And there was a mindset that prevented doing in this beautiful museum what is done in museums here in Washington, D.C., and in New York, and in Beijing, and in other places, which is to bring cultural organizations, civic organizations, the business community, to make it a place of events, etc. So, or the country can celebrate itself. Now, yes, a lot of it is done. I am sure that the very high qualified scientists and historians and anthropologists that are there will be able to identify whatever is of value that has survived, and the museum will be rebuilt little by little, but it is a very sad moment and contains an enormous lesson about governance. We should change that. Governance,
and then you also hear people saying priorities. This is a country that spent a lot on the World Cup, spent a lot on the Olympics, and that's present. Not so much on the past. I mean, I was reading today, 2 years ago, federal prosecutors in Rio began investigating safety conditions. Even firefighters said that the hydrants were dry when they arrived. I mean, all this confluence there. And as you said, you know, governance is an important part of this. But I mean, there's so many layers to this.
Yeah, this is a metaphor to this crisis that the country has been through, is living. It is neglect. It is lack of focus. It's very nice to see the officials now going to the museum and saying that they will do whatever is necessary to recover, etc. But Mike, the last president of Brazil to visit this museum was, I believe, Juscelino Kubitschek, who governed in the 50s and 60s. So it is, you know, there's great work done there, etc. But a sense of priority, you know, should we value this? If we really value this, we should have treated it differently. And in the midst of this crisis, we have now confront the issue of rebuilding, recovering, etc. It's going to be very tough. The country is going through a tremendously contentious presidential race in a month's time, and this will, obviously influence. It became the fire in the museum became a subject of political give and take among candidates, etc. It's very sad. I hope, obviously, everybody in Brazil will reflect on this and will try to find a better way, because it would help not only rebuilding the museum and saving the museum, it would help very much the country find a better way of governing itself.
Paulo, always a pleasure having you in. I wish it was under better circumstances. Thanks so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it.